Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aquarius for February 2018. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, to check out enrollment for my astrology apprenticeship program if you'd love to learn how to read charts with me. Also, you can see what's new on my blog, and if you want to get more information about what's going on for your sign, check out my new website, cozybysweetstarlight.com, where I have written reports for each sign for each month, as well as great reads for each sign for each month, and lots of other blog headers there. So what's going on this month? This month is really all about you. We've got birthdays, we've got the solar eclipse in your sign, the new moon in your sign, Mercury, the sun, Venus, and still transiting South Node in your sign. This is definitely a month very much all about you, which is my theme of the month for you. So let's talk about birthdays briefly. First of all, happy birthday. I love birthdays. I love when it's anybody's birthday. I get all worked up. From the perspective of birthdays and desire, this is, birthday wishes are astrological. So we live in a heliocentric reality. So the sun is at the center of our reality. Helios, the sun, is at the center of our reality. And the sun in the chart represents what you want, what you desire. So I believe that that is showing us very strongly that we came here to be conscious creators and play the game of manifestation, conscious manifestation according to our desire. Now that doesn't mean according to addiction and unconscious, pursuits per se as the highest expression, but desire is at the source of our experience. And on your birthday, there's a portal that opens where the universe is more receptive to your desires at this time. So it's really exciting. So birthday wishes are real. You get 10 of them. And the more you can phrase them, I like to phrase them having the energy of want and desire in them, but also as if they've come true. Like something like, I'm so grateful that my desire for ... has been fulfilled in a wonderful way. So you're capturing the energy of want, of desire that matches the transit, but you're also giving out the energy like it's already come true, because that is one of the major keys to manifestation. So you can look at my video called Making Wishes Come True, search for Annie Botticelli, Making Wishes Come True, and I give more information about maximizing your birthday wishes and new moon wishes and some other astrological transits too. So happy birthday. And for those of you who are watching for your rising sign, this is still a very exciting time, because when the sun crosses over your point, your rising sign, there is a new beginning in this energy of rebirth. And that's what this is all about. There's so much focus in the first house for all of you. Early, middle, and late degree placements have a massive amount of focus in this first house. And definitely either way, even for you late degree placements, where it will take, pretty soon into February, you'll start having the planets moving into your first house also. But either way, the solar eclipse takes place there for all of you, early, middle, and late degree placements. So the eclipses, we're talking about the eclipse on February 15th. The eclipses from an astronomical standpoint happen on one day. From an astrological standpoint, they happen over a cycle. Okay, so from the beginning of 2017 through the middle of 2019, we are energetically in this cycle of Leo Aquarius eclipses. And so these are very transformational for everybody, but there's a special level of transformation for those whom the sign that the cycle is in, which is the Leo and the Aquariuses. So you've had this eclipse cycle rolling through, activating massive change for you. And here's another chapter in the story. So sometimes we get eclipse news on the day of the eclipse, but sometimes we get eclipse news 4 to 6 or even 8 weeks before the eclipse, or even sooner, because we're moving along a cycle. So anything notable with this eclipse cycle can happen anytime from the beginning of 2017 into 2019. But during the actual eclipse times is when there is a hot spot for activity and change and radical new directions. So we talked in January about where the lunar eclipse is hitting for you, January 31st. I put it in the January report, even though it's going to influence us in February as well, that lunar eclipse on the 31st in Leo. So I highly recommend, if you haven't already, go to my January report and listen for where that lunar eclipse is going to hit, because that's going to be relevant for December, for January, for February, and beyond. For this month, we're going to talk about where the solar eclipse is hitting. So the lunar eclipse brings closings, endings, completions, things coming to fruition. And the solar eclipse brings something new. It's the new chapter. It's what comes in after the other thing was removed. You know, the idea that energy is not created nor destroyed, it just changes form, is very much alive and active and obvious at eclipse time, because energy is taken from somewhere and then that space is filled. You know, if you leave a space open on a shelf, that space wants to fill. And that's what happens energetically at this time. So the eclipse, the lunar eclipse is taking something out. The solar eclipse is putting something in. It doesn't always happen in that order. Sometimes you see rumblings of the what's coming in before the other thing moves out, and you know, it can be very complicated and rich in its experience, and sometimes not as obvious unless you're looking. So there will be lots of changes. You will either be having massive change or holding space for others, or both. So what happens when you have a solar eclipse, a new opening in your first house? The first house has to do with your image, what you put out into the world, what you say you are, what you present yourself to be, how people see you. It has to do with your hair and your clothing and your everything, how you talk, everything that is in what you are presenting to the world. It also has to do with your physical body, so health, diet, lifestyle, anything having to do with the physical body. Your relationship with your sacred body temple is very much in the first house. So many of you will undergo a radical image change. And if you're deciding, like, you want to cut your hair, you want to color your hair, you want to do something crazy with or different with your appearance, this month holds great promise for that, because we don't have any personal planets retrograde nor their shadow periods until March 8th. And that's part of why I'm calling February still one of these months that if you're trying to get something done before the wall of retrogrades that starts in March that we've been talking about and goes clear through until almost the end of December of 2018, this is a month to try to get things done. We'll talk in the general transit about some hindrances to that to be aware of. But in general, this is a fantastic time to do something big. Okay, so this can have to do with anything like that. Starting a new health regimen, getting health tests, moving forward with anything with your physical body. So those are the things that are most on my mind as it relates to the solar eclipse. So we just want to, you know, just keep in mind the energy of Aquarius. Aquarius has to do with friendships and internet-based things. And actually, I'll get into more of these details in the general transit, but it's all about you this month is the point. Everything that is Aquarian about you is activated this month from the perspective of Mercury and the Sun and Venus and the new moon and the solar eclipse. So definitely look out for possibilities of being put in the limelight. The limelight is definitely, the odds of someone being seen by other people is increased when there's a solar eclipse in their first house. So if you've been working on that, then it could come to fruition in a big way. If you've been waiting to launch yourself into the limelight, this is a great time for that. And if you're not wanting to be in the limelight, but Spirit wants you to be in the limelight, then you might find yourself in the limelight regardless of what you want. But just trust that there's a higher purpose to that. So also recognition could come in with this transit. So recognition, focus on your body, you know, people focusing on you and what you're doing, your work, what your mission is, etc. So it's going to be a very busy time for you, and definitely will be all about you. So these are the things that are most on my mind for Aquarius for this month. Now I want to go into details about all of these exciting transits, these mischievous transits, the things that might be trying to hinder you or test you as you're trying to push things out. So we'll go into the dates of all of those and the things that you need to know about them now. So the theme for the month for February 2018 for all signs is Radical New Directions. This is compliments of our solar eclipse that is the highlight of this month, which takes place on February 15th, and it's at 27 degrees of Aquarius. We've been talking about these eclipses for a while. First of all, because as long as we are in an eclipse cycle, news can come in that is eclipse related. So that means from beginning of 2017 through well into 2019, movement along these Leo Aquarius fronts, so anything in the Leo and Aquarian realms, and anything along the houses where it's hitting for each sign, can come through at any point in the eclipse cycle. It's just when the actual eclipses are happening, and then the 4 to 6, even 8 weeks before, and in some cases after, they're like hot spots on a timeline of a story that is ongoing. So sometimes I get asked the question, can I have eclipse news come in sooner than 6 weeks before the actual eclipse? The answer is yes. I actually just myself this week had something very clearly, and I'm recording this in the middle of December, very clearly had a solar eclipse in February manifestation starting to come through in the middle of December. So the eclipse times and the times right before and after are hot spots where there's an increase in frequency of eclipse related news. But if you look more closely, you'll see that this story that's going on is in motion behind the scenes to some degree for the whole time of the eclipse cycle. So, radical new directions for this period of time. We have major trajectory changes as a common outcome of eclipses. So we're remembering that an eclipse as an astronomical event takes place on one day. An eclipse as an astrological event is an ongoing cycle of a story. So we're looking for hot spots or major news or things to come through around eclipse time because the frequency and the probability is increased. So that's why around this period of time, you'll be likely having the effects of the solar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse that happened at the end of January, we're still very much in a hot spot for that. So closings, endings, completions, things coming to fruition in a big way that you've been working on. Those energies can still come into February, even though the highlight of the month astrologically is the new moon. So the new moon solar eclipse brings in new opportunities, new windows, new doors, new possibilities. And sometimes they're in line with things you've been working on, but sometimes they seem to come out of the blue. So look for this news, but usually it won't be too hard to find. But at the same time, sometimes there are things going on the more subtle levels that are only aware to the seeker. You know, if you're looking for it, you could go through an eclipse season and think, well, gosh, nothing happened at all. But if you're really looking, you'll definitely see at least subtle changes in the story that's going on. So there will be major impetus to move forward, and the stars are right in general for new directions because we don't have any personal planets retrograde this month of February. But at the same time, I describe a lot of what else is going on in February as mischievous. You know, there are aspects that can definitely serve as hindrances to moving forward. So while I'm giving you the report about this green light for moving forward, if you're intuitively not feeling like you should say yes to something or that you should do something, then you have to honor that. And there might be reality checks or things to make you look or dig deeper throughout this month. And we'll go into more details about each of those aspects and what days they are and what they can bring. But just to kind of understand this month better, green light's on for moving forward, but lots of hindrances that could bring hesitation or doubt. There could be something very clearly that you're supposed to say yes to, but that yes can also still have uncertainty where it's awkward and it's new and you're not sure or you're scared, but still you have a clear yes. One of the most important things to figure out this month, really, really imperative, to tell the difference between self-sabotaging reluctance and, which comes from fear, which would require some use of will to push through, and an actual just intuitive push saying, no, it's not time. So the resistance to change is going to be very strong at this time, just as the possibility for change is standing there. So you really, really have to tune in and figure out, are you not moving forward because intuitively you're supposed to hold off because maybe the retrogrades for the rest of the year are going to change what you would have done or would have launched? Or is it something you have to push through? You know, and only you can know the answer to that. So besides the eclipse, we've got tons of energy in Aquarius. Besides the new moon and solar eclipse, we've got lots of planets moving through that sign, so the Aquarian realms will be lit up in major ways. So anything that involves teaching, leading, or participating in groups, anything that has to do with friendships or social media or social circles, involvement with humanitarian efforts, connections with or working for large organizations. It also has to do with anything that has to do with the internet, or internet-based projects, or technology, or futuristic thinking, patents and things like that. You could see a lot of activity in your friend realm, you know, friends coming in, friends leaving, drama with friends, opportunities with friends, networking possibilities. Whenever the planets are in Aquarius, it's usually a pretty good time to be networking in some way. So just feel into how that could be appropriate for you. So towards the end of the month, we've got the planets starting to move into Pisces, and that brings a totally different feel. This is the Pisces rules the domain of the intuitive, of the introspective, of the artistic, of the abstract, of the romantic, of the poetic. So we move at some point in the month, about 3/4 of the way through, it starts to get more leaning towards the Pisces energy, but we move from this mental air sign of Aquarius, an air energy of thinking, to feeling. So I'm going to talk about the individual transits, the dates that they're going to happen, and things that I think are important for you to know to best utilize them. If you'd like a written report of what I'm explaining here in this general transit, then you can sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. When you sign up at anniehelpsyou.com, you get my monthly newsletter a month early so that you can see the dates and the energies at play written and not just in the video version. So on February 3rd, we have Mercury in Aquarius making a 60-degree angle to Mars in Sagittarius. This is a very favorable angle. So the good vibes are easy flowing now as these two very easygoing signs are getting together in a great aspect. So this is a great time for dreaming big and expressing ideas in a big way. At the same time, and you can see what I mean about this mischievousness, in January, if you're watching this early, then you can understand what I'm talking about from being in the energy of January. But January has a lot of green lights to move forward with less of the mischievous hindrances. February has lots of green lights and energy for going forward, but at the same time, it has these hindrances that I talked about. And here's a good example of this. So on February 3rd through the 4th, we have Venus in Aquarius making a square to Jupiter in Scorpio. We have 3 squares with personal planets to Jupiter this month, and that is part of what's making this theme where Jupiter's trying to expand something, but the square formation is causing a block or causing something to push through or causing questions or causing stopping. So freedom and commitment may come into conflict at this time. The aspect can also bring challenges to love, money, or expression. And it is important to note, though, that even though it will show up, these blocks will show up, they're also with Jupiter, and Jupiter is known as the Great Benefic. So any difficult angle to this planet tends to be softer than the difficult angles to other planets. So we have that going for us this month. On February 6th, we have another beautiful aspect, Venus in Aquarius making a 60-degree angle to Uranus in Aries. So we can have boosts to social life, love life, finances, artistic expression. This is a great aspect for making money decisions or launching something new in business or love. So whenever we've got, kind of these thumbs up, thumbs down energies that are rolling around each other as they tend to be, you sort of just have to feel your way through it, because I give you the date of February 6th that this aspect is happening, but you could feel this aspect and a green light days before or even after, because the expression of the aspect doesn't just happen on that day for most of these aspects. So, you just kind of have to know what's going on and then feel your way around and look for your own intuitive push for your striking points. On February 10th, we have a second square with Jupiter. The sun in Aquarius is squaring Jupiter in Scorpio. So this comes with a tendency to overdo. So here I am telling you, try to get everything you can done this month, right? Because the wall of retrogrades starting March 8th is going to descend upon us very quickly. So yes, it's true. We do want to do a lot this month. And yes, it's true that a transit like this could cause us to overdo and become tired or become frazzled. So it can also cause us to overpromise. So definitely look out around this time for the opportunity to be conservative with your commitments, because you may be trying big, but if you scale down what you promise compared to what you're intending, then you won't have the stress of trying to pull through something that might not ever get up to the level that you promised. Something else important that I want to note that's happening in March but is relevant for now is that on that same day that our personal planet retrograde absence stops, so basically we are free from personal planets being retrograde and their shadow periods until March 8th. Then we start to descend into Mercury retrograde, then we'll go into Mars retrograde, then we'll go into Mercury retrograde, then we'll go into Venus retrograde. But on March 8th, Jupiter also goes retrograde. And Jupiter is our green light planet. It's our go, 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 expansion, optimism planet. So even though this is extra relevant for Sagittarius, it's relevant for everybody trying to do anything. So this is another reason, if you feel if the intuition feels on board for pushing forward this month, to really just push through and do extra work this month, because you want to get your projects out before Jupiter goes retrograde. And it will be retrograde for several, like 3 to 4 months. So February 13th, there is our third square to Jupiter, and this is in the form of Mercury and Aquarius making a square to Jupiter. So these energies combined can bring difficulty in concentration, which is even more challenging because this is a time when Mercury is squaring Jupiter. It's a time when the universe is asking you to pay more attention to the details that are involved in your big vision projects. So just at the time that you have to pay more attention to the details, you have a challenge in concentrating on the details. So it would be a good time to enlist some help with people who are really good at that, or just some extra eyes to support you. This can also come with a tendency to overestimate your capacity to follow through with something you're promising. So you can see this trend whenever anything is squaring Jupiter, there is a tendency to overpromise. On the same day, February 13th, and you notice that all of this is going on around the Valentine's Day time, we have a mitigating, awesome transit with the sun in Aquarius making a very favorable angle to Uranus. So there is a little bit of dicey energy around Valentine's Day, but there is also some very supportive energy around Valentine's Day. So this sun aspect with Uranus can bring progressive solutions. It can also bring internet-based projects and community-minding plans to move forward. Group or team focus expands in a wonderful way. If you're looking for a time to try to, pop the question, I still think that there's a lot of good energy around this time, and this aspect can be very supportive because Uranus is future thinking, and of course when you're getting married or trying to move forward on any project, we're thinking about the future. So there is lots of good energy around moving forward. Just kind of feel your way through it. And if you're planning to pop the question and it doesn't feel right, then give it a day or something. You might feel the energies even after a couple of hours shift. So just feel your way through this. On February 15th, we also have the new moon in Aquarius, and this is an amazing energy for new things. It's also the solar eclipse. In general, I try to space things away from the exact day of the solar eclipse, which is on the 15th, because that carries a specific intensity with it. But you'll see radical new directions opening up from this eclipse. And this magical aspect also has additional support from the planets because Mercury is making a 60-degree angle to Uranus, and it can enhance communication and expression and also find futuristic resolutions, as we just discussed. It also can bring positive outcomes from, so basically a solution for an old problem, something that's been going on for a while. You can figure out a solution for that, or the odds are more likely. Also, Venus in Pisces is making a nice angle to Saturn in Sag, and this can help bring abstract ideas into form in wonderful ways. So there's a massive amount of energy around this new moon that is really supportive for moving forward. On February 17th, we also have the Sun in Aquarius making a conjunction to Mercury in Aquarius. So your mental powers will expand at this time. The capacity to intellectualize, to brainstorm, and again, community-based projects, internet projects, anything Aquarian related can get a boost, social media, etc. On February 21st, you can see these energies are very quickly moving into this feeling energy. Venus in Pisces is making a conjunction to Neptune in Pisces. So boundaries can tend to blur during this transit, for better and worse. Romance can flourish at this time. Emotional spending is more likely, but it can be worthwhile if you're clear enough, if you feel clear enough to make good decisions. You could get some things that really add to the beauty and emotional substance of your life. And by the way, this whole month is really great in general for making important purchases. If you feel your way through and it feels like it's the right move for you, phones, cars, making decisions, starting programs, launching anything. This is one of the best months of the year for pushing things forward in a big way. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. Something else that is great at this transit on the 21st with Venus and Neptune is it's wonderful for artists and art-related projects. So on the 25th, we have Venus in Pisces squaring Mars in Sag. So this can be a little bit of a bummer. Emotional longing may be met with emotionless and detached reflections, okay, which doesn't usually feel good. But this is a really good time to remember that the only constant that we can trust is our connection with spirit, and not the fickleness of the material realms. So when we have a transit like this that can be a little bit disappointing or a little bit confusing, it serves to fuel our spiritual work in the way that whenever we put our dependence and happiness in something outside of ourselves in an ever-changing world, we're on a planet that's moving, that's spinning, but it's also moving, and then it's also moving within that moving, and then it's in a solar system that's moving, in a universe that's moving, everything is moving. So the only thing that's constant is our connection to spirit, that all that is. And this is an amazing transit to reiterate that into our being and to be able to find happiness beyond what our circumstances are. At this same time, we have Mercury in Pisces making a conjunction with Neptune. So this combination can be amazing for romance and emotional connections. Alternatively, and especially because of the square that is also happening this day, it can cause confusion or deception. So just again, tune in and trust your gut feelings in deeper ways. On the same day, the 25th, this is a very powerful time in the cosmos, lots going on. We've got the Sun in Pisces making a beautiful aspect to Saturn in Capricorn, which is a great time for abstract ideas taking shape beautifully and rough edges being softened with great outcomes. Whenever we have energies of water and energies of earth coming together in a beautiful aspect, it gives us the opportunity to blend art and function. On the 27th, we have an awesome aspect with Venus in Pisces making a 60-degree angle to Pluto in Capricorn. I want to take a second now to note, you've noticed I've said 60-degree angle quite a few times in this report. That means that there is a strong story of this 60-degree angle. And 60-degree angles are positive, supportive aspects, but they usually involve you having to take action on something. They're a little bit different than a trine. Trines tend to just bring things in, and yes, you can take action on those beautiful aspects also, but this 60-degree angle really wants you to do something. And the way I always describe this is like, let's say you want a peach pie, right? And you have all the ingredients for the pie on your counter, and then you're like, why don't I have a peach pie? Everything is there, right? Well, you have to use the ingredients to make the pie. So you might have to do something active with these 60-degree angles to be able to get the better aspect, but they're full of opportunities. So on the 27th, we've got this Venus in Pisces 60-degree angle to Pluto in Capricorn. So again, you see this theme of artistic flow receiving great support, tangible support, material support. Look for ways to bring intuition and practicality together. So you've heard me say something like that a few times, and that's because of this blending of water energies and earth energies as a little bit of a pattern this month. On the 28th, we have Mercury in Pisces making a square to Mars in Sag. So be on guard for misunderstandings at this time. Unclear communications can bring challenges and conflicts, and it may be hard to express feelings at this time, or it could just be that deadlines could create creativity blocks. You know, Mars in Sag wants to go, go, go and be everywhere at the same time and do everything at the same time, but Mercury in Pisces is more of a slower, emotional, quiet, soft moving energy, you know? So whenever those two conflicting energies come in, you can see there might be some conflicts there. Also on February 28th, we have a beautiful aspect with Mercury in Pisces making a 60-degree angle with Pluto in Capricorn. So compassionate communication can result in great strides at this time. So adding art to function is a great way to use this energy also. I love the book, Marshall Rosenberg's book, Nonviolent Communication, for everything, for always. But when we have aspects or combinations like this where there's so much softness and feeling coming into connection with a different type of energy, you know, the more we can tune in and really put ourselves in the place of someone that we're communicating with and look at it from their perspective, there's a tremendous amount of healing that can occur with that. So these are the things that are most on my mind this month for the general transits. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new in my blogs. Also, sign up for my free email newsletter to get your monthly write-up and more. Definitely go to cozybysweetstarlight.com to get your written monthly horoscope for each sign. That's something new that I've never done before, but I am doing it on my new site, Cozy by Sweet Starlight, along with great reads for each sign and lots of blog headers for your comfy, cozy life, astrology kissed life. Then check out my husband, B.R. Newman's tarot scopes to get more information about what could be in store for you at iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. So I hope you have a wonderful month. Check out my astrology apprenticeship program if you would love to learn astrology with me, and I'll see you next month.